$1,000 per plate. Crystal chandeliers, live orchestra, the kind of black tie event where fortunes get made over cocktail conversations. I was seated at table 7, the premier position, directly adjacent to the stage where industry awards would be announced. My phone vibrated against my clutch. I expected congratulations, perhaps a client reaching out ahead of my acceptance speech for the Leadership Excellence Award I was about to receive. Instead, I found a text from my CEO. Victoria, effective immediately, your employment with Meridian Strategic is terminated. Please return company property Monday. HR will contact you regarding final arrangements. Fired. By text message. At the industry's most prestigious annual gala, while seated at a table full of our firm's most valuable clients. My hands didn't shake. My expression didn't change. I simply turned to the man seated beside me, Arthur Pennington, CEO of Axiom Global, Meridian's single largest account representing 42% of annual revenue. I showed him my phone. Arthur read the message. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Then he pulled out his own phone and typed a response. Not to me, to my now former CEO. I believe you just terminated our master service agreement as well. See you in court. He pressed send, looked at me. Victoria, I think you're going to need a good attorney. Fortunately, I know several. Across the ballroom, my now former CEO's phone buzzed. I watched his face go pale from 60 feet away. That text triggered a $38 million legal collapse that destroyed Meridian Strategic within 18 months, and I had a front-row seat to every moment of it. Now, before I break down exactly what happened after Arthur sent that message, and trust me, watching my former CEO try to backpedal was absolutely priceless, I need to pause here. If you've ever been blindsided by someone who underestimated your connections, if you've ever been dismissed by people who had no idea what they were actually destroying, you belong here. This channel showcases real experiences from people who turned their worst professional moments into unexpected victories. We're constructing something meaningful, a community that celebrates resilience, strategic thinking, and refusing to accept disrespect quietly. If you're among the first 1,000 subscribers, you're laying the groundwork for what we're building. That button is right there. Now, let me walk you through the 14 years that led to the most expensive text message in Meridian Strategic's history. My name is Victoria Chase. I'm 43 years old, married to my husband Bennett for 17 years, mother to our son Alexander, who just turned 14. Until that gala evening, I was the Executive Vice President of Client Relations at Meridian Strategic, one of the most respected corporate advisory firms in the financial services sector. This is the account of how a single text message cost my company their largest client, their reputation, and ultimately their entire operation. Strategic communications consulting isn't glamorous work, but it pays exceptionally well. We helped Fortune 500 companies navigate crises, manage public perception, and communicate with stakeholders during sensitive transitions, mergers, executive scandals, regulatory investigations, the moments when saying the wrong thing costs billions. I discovered this field almost accidentally. After completing my communications degree, I spent 5 years in corporate public relations. Decent work, but I craved something more substantive than press releases and media training. Meridian recruited me at 29. They needed someone who understood both communication strategy and relationship management, the art of making clients feel confident during their most vulnerable moments. I excelled at that intersection. Within 3 years, I'd become the primary relationship manager for our largest accounts. CEOs requested me specifically for sensitive engagements. Board members asked for my perspective on messaging strategies. The work consumed enormous amounts of time and energy. Bennett and I had married during my 2nd year at Meridian. He worked as an architect, creative in ways that complemented my analytical tendencies. "You're going to burn out if you keep this pace," he warned during one particularly intense quarter. I'm building something sustainable. Once I reach a certain level, the intensity will moderate. He didn't argue, but I saw concern in his expression that never quite disappeared. Alexander arrived during year 7. Becoming a mother shifted my priorities in ways I hadn't anticipated. I still worked relentlessly, but I became more protective of family time. Weekend events required justification. Evening obligations needed genuine purpose. The gala was supposed to be celebration, not sacrifice. Building relationships with clients like Arthur Pennington requires years of accumulated trust. Axiom Global represented everything Meridian Strategic aspired to serve: multinational presence, complex stakeholder dynamics, constant need for sophisticated communication support. I landed their account during year 5 through persistence that bordered on obsession. Arthur had worked with our competitors for years, satisfied but not impressed. I spent 18 months demonstrating what genuine partnership could look like before he finally agreed to a pilot engagement. That pilot became a retainer. The retainer expanded into comprehensive advisory services. By year 10, Axiom represented 42% of Meridian's annual revenue. My commission structure reflected that contribution accordingly. Arthur and I developed something beyond typical client-consultant dynamics. We'd served on industry boards together. Our families had shared dinners during conferences. His wife Eleanor and I exchanged messages about books we'd both enjoyed. Professional friendship built on mutual respect and delivered results. When Arthur discovered I'd been nominated for the Leadership Excellence Award, he insisted on attending the gala personally. "Victoria, you've earned this recognition. Eleanor and I wouldn't miss it." "That's incredibly generous, Arthur." "Generous, nothing. You've made Axiom's communication capabilities competitive with firms 10 times our size. Awards should follow performance like that." I didn't realize how important his presence would become. The trouble at Meridian started with new leadership. Gregory Wallace became CEO 3 years before the gala. He'd made his reputation in technology consulting, a different industry with different relationship dynamics. Technology clients expect technical solutions. Strategic communications clients expect trusted advisors. Gregory never understood that distinction. His first major initiative involved restructuring commission models to reduce what he called excessive relationship dependency. Translation: he wanted to capture revenue I'd generated without compensating me proportionally. I pushed back formally. "Gregory, these relationships exist because of specific trust built over years. Change the compensation structure and you change the incentive to maintain that trust. The firm's interests should motivate everyone equally. The firm's interests are served by retained clients. Clients retain because of relationships. Relationships require investment. Investment requires compensation." He dismissed my concerns as self-interested positioning. Over the following 2 years, he systematically undermined the relationship management model I'd built. Senior relationship managers left for competitors. Client satisfaction scores declined measurably. Revenue concentration increased rather than decreased, as remaining strong relationships became even more critical. Axiom Global became not just our largest client, they became our lifeline, and I was the only reason they stayed. Gregory resented that dependency, but he lacked alternatives. Until he decided to eliminate me entirely and hoped the relationship survived the transition. The gala provided Gregory's preferred timing. I'd be publicly recognized, visibly celebrated, the perfect moment to demonstrate that my contributions were institutional rather than personal. In his calculation, firing me after receiving an industry award would position my termination as unfortunate timing rather than strategic decision. The client relationships would transfer to Meridian automatically. He fundamentally misunderstood how trust operates. I learned later that he'd prepared the text message days in advance, scheduled it to send during the awards portion of the evening. Maximum public visibility, minimum opportunity for private confrontation. What he didn't consider was my seating assignment. Table 7 wasn't random.
The gala organizers seated award recipients with their most significant professional connections. I'd listed Arthur Pennington as my primary industry reference on the nomination materials. So when the text arrived, Arthur sat 18 inches from my phone screen, close enough to read every word. I remember the exact moment. The orchestra had paused between pieces. Conversations hummed throughout the ballroom. My phone vibrated against my evening bag. I glanced down, expecting something routine. Instead, I found my career ending in 87 characters.
The decision to show Arthur happened instinctively. Maybe I wanted validation. Maybe I needed someone to confirm the absurdity of what had just occurred. Maybe some part of me already understood the strategic implications. Whatever the motivation, I turned my phone toward him without speaking. Arthur read the message twice. His expression cycled through confusion, recognition, then cold calculation. "Victoria, is this genuine?" "It appears so." "Sent just now, at this event?" "Yes." He was silent for perhaps 15 seconds. Around us, the gala continued obliviously. Laughter from nearby tables, clinking glasses, the pleasant background noise of professional celebration. Do you have any idea why? Gregory has been restructuring compensation models. My commission on your account specifically has been a point of contention. Your commission on my account. Arthur's voice carried dangerous precision. The account that exists because you built the relationship over 9 years. The account I specifically retained because of your involvement. Gregory views the relationship as institutional. Gregory is catastrophically mistaken. Arthur pulled out his phone, typed deliberately, read his message twice before sending. "I believe you just terminated our master service agreement as well. See you in court." The message went directly to Gregory Wallace. Across the ballroom, I watched a phone screen illuminate in Gregory's hand. His confident expression dissolved in real time. The aftermath unfolded faster than anyone anticipated. Gregory attempted damage control within minutes. He crossed the ballroom, heading toward our table with manufactured concern. "Victoria, there's been a miscommunication. That message wasn't supposed to reach her while seated beside your largest client?" Arthur interrupted. "Interesting timing choice regardless." "Arthur, I can assure you." "You can assure me of nothing. You just terminated the only person at your firm I actually trust, via text message, at an industry event while she's receiving a leadership award." Gregory's face reddened. "Our service agreement with Axiom remains fully intact. Your service agreement contained a key personnel clause, Section 14, Paragraph 3, Victoria Chase specifically named as Essential Relationship Manager. Her termination without prior consultation constitutes material breach." Arthur had memorized contract language. Gregory clearly hadn't reviewed it recently. That clause was standard boilerplate that my legal team specifically negotiated and strengthened during our last renewal because I anticipated exactly this kind of decision from leadership that doesn't understand relationship-based business. The conversation drew attention from nearby tables, industry colleagues pretending not to watch while absorbing every word. Gregory's professional reputation was collapsing in real time at the most visible event of the year. "Arthur, let's discuss this privately." "I've said everything I intend to say tonight." Arthur stood, offering his hand to Eleanor. "Victoria, please contact my office Monday morning. I believe we have employment matters to discuss." They left the gala before my award was announced. I accepted it anyway. Gregory watched from across the room, unable to interfere without creating additional scene. Monday morning brought legal escalation nobody at Meridian had prepared for. Arthur wasn't bluffing about the contract clause. Axiom's attorneys filed formal breach notification before noon, triggering provisions that exposed Meridian to substantial liability. The master service agreement included damages calculations tied to projected annual value. Axiom's business represented approximately $38 million in current and contracted future revenue, all of it now subject to legal dispute. But the financial exposure was only the beginning. Word spread through industry networks with remarkable speed. By Wednesday, 3 additional clients had requested emergency meetings to review their own agreements. By Friday, 2 announced they were transitioning to alternative providers. The text message firing became industry gossip that damaged Meridian's reputation far beyond any single client relationship. Bennett and I discussed implications during a quiet dinner that weekend. "What are you going to do?" he asked. Arthur offered me a position, head of corporate communications for Axiom Global, significant salary increase, better work-life balance. That sounds ideal. It does, but I'm also considering other options, such as starting my own firm, taking relationships I built personally and serving them independently. Bennett set down his fork. "Victoria, you've wanted that for years. What's stopping you?" "Fear, probably. Security of established employment. The known versus the unknown." "And now?" I considered the question seriously. Now I've been reminded that established employment offers no security whatsoever. Gregory eliminated 17 years of my career with a text message. That could happen anywhere. So what's actually holding you back? Nothing, I realized. Nothing at all. The legal proceedings provided unexpected entertainment over the following months. Axiom's breach claim survived initial motions. Meridian's attorneys attempted arguing that the key personnel clause was unenforceable, a position the judge rejected decisively. "The clause is clear, specific, and negotiated at arm's length by sophisticated parties," the ruling stated. "Defendant cannot now claim ignorance of terms they explicitly agreed to." Discovery revealed internal communications that made Gregory's position even worse. Emails discussing my termination timing specifically referenced the Gala as optimal for minimizing disruption while maximizing institutional positioning, evidence of premeditation that undermined any claim of routine business decision. Additional documents showed Gregory had been consulting with competitors about potential acquisition, discussions that required demonstrating Meridian could operate without key personnel dependencies. He'd terminated me partly to prove the firm's value wasn't connected to individual relationships. Instead, he'd proven exactly the opposite. Settlement negotiations began during month 8. Axiom initially demanded the full $38 million plus legal costs and reputational damages. Meridian's insurance covered portions, but not enough. The firm's operating reserves depleted rapidly. By month 14, they were functionally insolvent. Gregory Wallace resigned before the final settlement. His departure statement cited personal reasons without acknowledging the catastrophe he'd created. The industry understood anyway. I launched Chase Strategic Partners 6 months after the Gala. The timing felt right. Meridian's collapse created market opportunities. Former colleagues needed employment. Clients needed alternatives. I built something different from what Gregory had tried to create. Relationship-centered, compensation structures that rewarded trust building, transparent communication with clients about who managed their accounts and why. Arthur Pennington became my first client, not through the Axiom corporate account, but through personal advisory services for his family office. "I believe in supporting people who've demonstrated integrity," he explained during our signing meeting. "You showed me that text rather than hiding it. That kind of honesty deserves investment." Other relationships followed. Former Meridian clients who'd worked with me specifically, industry contacts who'd witnessed the Gala confrontation and respected how I'd handled impossible circumstances. Within 2 years, Chase Strategic employed 14 people and generated revenue exceeding what I'd managed at Meridian. Bennett attended our second anniversary celebration. "I remember when you talked about starting your own firm," he said. "You made it sound like an impossible dream." It felt impossible until someone demonstrated that the alternative was equally uncertain. "Gregory, you mean?" Gregory showed me that corporate security is illusion. If someone can end your career with a text message, you're not actually secure, you're just postponing inevitable vulnerability. Alexander, now 16, had his own perspective. "Mom, did you really get fired at a fancy party?" "I really did." "And the guy who fired you lost everything?" "His company collapsed. Whether he lost everything personally, I don't know." "That's kind of amazing." "It's kind of instructive," I corrected. "Decisions have consequences. Disrespecting people has consequences. Underestimating relationships has consequences. So be nice to people." I laughed. "Be genuine with people. The nice part usually follows." The final settlement details became public 18 months after the gala. Meridian Strategic Communications paid $22 million to resolve all claims, less than the original demand, but far more than the firm could sustain. Asset sales covered immediate obligations. Long-term liabilities forced bankruptcy proceedings. The company that had employed me for 14 years ceased to exist before the second anniversary of my termination. Gregory Wallace never worked in strategic communications again. His LinkedIn profile listed independent consulting, but industry contacts confirmed he'd been effectively blacklisted. Nobody wanted to hire someone whose judgment had cost $40 million and destroyed an established firm. The irony wasn't lost on me. Gregory had fired me to demonstrate that Meridian could operate without relationship dependencies. Instead, he'd proven that relationships were the only thing actually sustaining the operation. My relationships, now serving my own firm. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about Meridian's collapse. Former colleagues lost positions, institutional knowledge disappeared, clients experienced disruption during transitions. But I didn't cause any of that. Gregory's text message caused it. His arrogance caused it. His fundamental misunderstanding of how trust operates in advisory relationships caused it. I simply showed the truth to someone positioned to act on it. Arthur Pennington made his own decision, exercised his own contractual rights, enforced terms he'd specifically negotiated for exactly this scenario. The dominoes fell because they were arranged to fall. I just revealed who'd pushed the first one. 3 years after the gala, I received an unexpected invitation. The same industry organization wanted me to present the Leadership Excellence Award, the recognition I'd received the night Gregory terminated me via text. The irony required no explanation. I accepted. Standing at that podium, looking out at tables filled with industry colleagues, I thought about everything that had changed since I'd last attended this event. My firm, my independence, my understanding of what security actually means. The award recipient that year was a young woman from a mid-sized consultancy, brilliant, driven, reminded me of myself 15 years earlier. After presenting her recognition, I offered brief remarks. 3 years ago, I received this award while simultaneously receiving a text message terminating my employment. The same evening, the same event. The room went silent. Everyone knew the story, but hearing it acknowledged publicly carried different weight. What I've learned since that moment is this: your career belongs to you, not your employer, not your title, not your business card. Your relationships, your reputation, your integrity, those are assets nobody can terminate via text message. I paused. Build things that belong to you. Protect what you've created, and never underestimate how quickly circumstances can shift when someone in power makes catastrophically poor decisions. Light laughter from the audience. To this year's recipient, congratulations, and check your phone occasionally. You never know what messages might arrive. The evening ended with more connection than I'd anticipated. Colleagues approaching to share their own experiences, young professionals asking for advice, industry leaders acknowledging what I'd built from the ashes of that termination. Gregory Wallace's text message was supposed to end my career. Instead, it launched everything that came after. $1,000 per plate, industry's most prestigious event, perfect opportunity for public humiliation. He just didn't realize whose table I was seated at. If this resonated with something in your own experience, if you've ever been blindsided by someone who underestimated your network, if you've ever turned an ending into an unexpected beginning, subscribe and join what we're building here. Every day, we share experiences of people who refused to let circumstances define their outcomes. Drop a comment telling me about a time someone underestimated your network. I read every single response. And check out that video right there, another experience you absolutely need to hear. Until next time, protect your relationships, build things that belong to you, and always know who's sitting at your table.